Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Planting Seeds. You are here with Chad and Bree once again.
What's up? So we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. This is actually a very near and dear topic to myself, as it should be to most people who are like me, and you'll see where I'm going in a minute. But before I even get into it, I just want to go. And it's sad that I have to do this, but I'm gonna just go ahead and give a quick non-racist disclaimer. If anyone knows me, that I'm probably the furthest person from, racist, or whatever. Have close white friends, just like I have close black friends. Um, Not gonna say I don't see color because obviously everyone sees color, but I understand the whole different race thing, and I have no quarrels with anyone outside of my race who does not have a quarrel with me. I only have an issue with the people who have issues with me.
Same.
So at the end of the day, this topic that we're going to be discussing is going to be slavery. So this was actually lengthy for us. So what we did was broke it down in two episodes for the convenience for our viewers, if we have any. We didn't want to take up 2 to 3 straight hours at a time, so we went ahead and broke it down into two segments, and then there'll be
yeah.
like a little third, partially related segment or whatnot. But I hope you all enjoy because I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna speak. I gotta speak how I feel on this one. Y'all just gonna have to feel me on it. I gotta speak how I feel.
Yeah, it's a lot of opinions, but it's based off of a lot of research that we've done and a lot of videos and documentaries that we've come across. And this is our opinion based off of that. So, as he said, we put in a lot of work into this. So, we appreciate you for listening.
Yeah, and there'll probably be moments where I may or may not get worked up. I'll try to simmer myself down, but it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. The whole slavery thing, but how we're going to do it is we're going to tell the story of slavery narrated by us. What's the difference between it being narrated by us and it being narrated by a history book? Absolutely no difference whatsoever. That's their narrative of how it happened. This is going to be our narrative of how it all went down.
Yep.
Pretty much. So this is a question that I'm directing to blacks, African Americans, Negroes, niggas, niggers,
or whatever you go by, these days.
whatever we self go by, and whatever label the world puts on us.
Whatever box they put us in.
Pretty much. So this is a question. If you grew up and everything about what you were taught in school or heard in the media, in the news, word of mouth, pretty much anywhere, was that your descendants originated from Ireland or another country outside of Ireland, would you believe it? Keep in mind, if everything around you is telling you that, would you believe it?
Yeah. Just you would have no choice but to go by what you see and what your surroundings are.
So I'm starting to think, is that the reason why a lot of modern day quote unquote African Americans, quote unquote black people, feel that they're from Africa? Is because everything we were taught as adolescents, everything we heard, everything we see places us on a whole nother continent, have the storyline, the illustration, have everything in part to make us really believe and feel that our descendants are from Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so essentially, the only reason that black folks, African Americans, think or feel that their descendants are from Africa is because, as Chad stated, the narrative shown that.
So I have another question. I'm going to direct this to you.
Go for it.
So what if I told you that the only reason that we were even told in the first place that we was from Africa was simply because of the hue of our skin being similar to some of those from Africa?
I would say A, that kind of makes sense, and B, who was the one who stated that we were Africans? Who's the one stated that we were all alike?
History.
His story.
So his story. His story.
Yeah, and Chad actually broke that down to me, that his story, if you look at the word and you break down the word, it's literally his story.
And it really is. And everybody knows that the English language is filled with so many spells and double meanings and stuff like that. So, don't be naive to think that, what we're saying,
it's far-fetched. not real. So
All right. So do you know? Are you good with geography?
as far as the United States or worldwide?
Worldwide.
Worldwide. I know the 7 major continents.
All right, so
this
this would probably work out for you then, because I'm not even going to like break it down in a country wise, because then I'll mess up myself.
Yeah.
So, to your knowledge, what continent is above Africa?
Europe.
Europe. That is correct. I'm not sure if you know this or don't know this. South Africa. So back to Africa.
Uh-huh.
Predominantly, what have you been taught your life as far as, what color, hue of people are from Africa, what race of people are from Africa, just Africans, just
Africans.
Dark.
And would be a very dark complexion is what I get from it, or what I've gotten from it. So
okay.
The picture that they've painted is really dark hues of color.
Right, African. Poverty, impoverished.
All of that.
Very
Very impoverished. I mean, even the commercials that we've seen before that they used to play about send 60-something cents a day for a child, and we'll send you a picture, and whether or not those are real, it's
they're real pictures, but those organizations.
But the organizations, what I mean, may not be real. That your money may not be going towards that.
Yeah, this shit. This day and age, we know that money's not going there, and
the
country is still where it's at, and they've been asking us to donate since I've been born.
Don't people question that? Like, I've been donating for years. Where's all my efforts and my money going?
Apparently not.
Well.
So, in case you know or don't know, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
So Africa, there's South Africa. Mm-hmm. Do you know much about South Africa?
It's hot. I know it's hot there. I mean, hot, black people, impoverished.
South of Africa.
That's pretty much all I know.
All right, so I'll go ahead and in the way that I learned this, believe it or not, was actually in the movie Mean Girls. Was it Lindsay Lohan?
Lindsay Lohan.
She was in that movie, and I remember she moved from South Africa. And I found that, but I think her family was doing mission work in South Africa or something like that.
That's why they lived out there.
Right. But that made me look more into South Africa. And lo and behold, if you look up pictures of South Africans, you are going to find the same looking people that you will find in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine.
All Caucasians?
All
light-skinned people?
No, not light-skinned people.
White-skinned people?
Oh, yeah. White, yeah. Look like Europeans, look like American, whatever label you want to put on them. They're
white.
They're white.
Yeah.
Point blank, period.
Which is surprising to me. I mean, when I think Africa, like I said, I think black people. It was surprising to me to find out that a majority of the Africans are the white race.
So now you have South Africa, and then Europe above Africa.
Right.
So essentially, I mean, like let's use our common sense.
Right. And
what's dividing those quote unquote continents?
An imaginary line that was placed there throughout history.
The illustrations of an imaginary line dividing this continent and all of the countries within the continent, the U.S., all this imaginary lines. So, like, I want you to go to the line of, if you're in the U.S., go to the line of whatever state that neighbors your state, and I want you to see where the damn outline is that they display on the map. There's no thing; it's an imaginary line. So, in other words, all that means is that with them being so close together, Europe, Africa, or whatnot, but them being so close together, and there's really nothing separating them. Why isn't that? I'm just trying to use my words.
How are the Europeans not the descendants of Africa? How is it to where the table turns to where we are the descendants of Africa when they're so close? I mean, Europe is the same part of Africa. Right. Again, it's just separated by the imaginary line.
And then we all know, especially history, that, certain territories was once this big, then they, got overtaken, became this big, became a part of this territory, this, that, and the other. So maybe at one point of time, Africa, South Africa was just considered
Europe, and it was just all one, and that's where they meaning the descendants of European and the founders of America came from.
Yeah, that's like there's no different from the U.S. and it originating from like the 13 colonies, and now in present day there's 50 states. So in other words, throughout history, land masses of territory were meshed and then separated and meshed again, and then names and imaginary lines was then drawn out to depict separations within between states, and separations between countries, and separations between continents.
They're all about separating. They're all about separating and trying to make something their own.
And that was the reason, in my opinion, why they wanted to separate themselves from Africa, Europe from Africa, was the whole plot to place African Americans in Africa, to say we're separate, so we're not from Africa. Y'all match the color, of them.
So y'all are from
Africa.
Africa.
Y'all must be from Africa, and Africa isn't a part of, that they made it separate. So because if you just say it's all Europe, and there's Europeans, and then the African dark stone people, then it's all one. Yep. So they're going to separate that shit and call Europe, and Africa.
Right.
And then, hold on. Let me see where I'm at.
And then it's like they must have known that there were the dark-skinned people in Africa, since that's where you guys were from. So as you said, that was the perfect plot and the perfect transition into coming to America and finding darker-hued people and saying, you guys are all in one. You're from here, and then that goes into the manipulation.
Right. So, and we're going to go based on, pretty much the history that we were taught, based on the narrative that we learned in history books, that our history teachers taught us, that we learned from word of mouth.
Right.
Based on that word, we know that black people in the past were treated horribly, killed, etc., raped, etc. Hundreds of years, we know that, right?
Right.
And the treatment, by all means, yes, has gotten better, but let's keep it real. In all actuality, it's only slightly better, right?
Right.
So everyone who's watching that, who's been taught pretty much the same mainstream history as us, should agree with that, right?
Right.
So now let's think about this for a second. And if you just put a little bit of critical thinking into the next statement, then you may see where I'm coming from. Now, with all that being said, why would we think that they would be honest to us? Why would we think that they have our best interest in telling us where we're actually from? Why would we think for one second the same people who have treated our ancestors in the worst ways? In the worst ways. Why would we believe the same descendants of them people who passed down traditions, the same ancestors from them would then be so honest with us and be like, no, this is your true history. This is actually where you're from. This is how you trace, how you trace your roots, this, that, and the other. I mean, let's keep it real. When have they ever been super honest with us? Even modern day, look at I mean, it's still not honest. It's still not fair. Look at the court system. Look at the housing. Right. Look at the education system and black neighborhoods and the education and white seriously, look at all of that. And it's still not fair. So why would we think that in this instance they're going to be fair with us and tell us where our true history roots are?
Where our roots come from, who we really are. Who we truly, really are, genuinely, truly are. They will never, ever cop to that. They would never place us where we really belong. It's always going to be a game. It's always going to be manipulation. And if they're putting us somewhere, it's all intentional. If they're putting our roots in Africa, it's because they want our roots to be in Africa for a reason. And it's not our best interest, because it's never, ever our best interest. Never. And we still feel like there's a group of elites or society out there who is aware of the true history of African Americans, or the true history of slavery, and they're just not going to release that information, but they are going to pass it down within their society.
Yeah, within their society, within their traditions. They know. I'm 100% sure that there's a group of people, black included, who knows the truth. And black included is a lot of. Let me break something down to you. celebrities, people with money have access to information that the everyday person does not have, right? So that means they can find out truths to life truths about history that the average person can't find out, right?
Right.
Now watch. Now, who's above those people with money is people with power. Those people with power can make those people with less money than them shut their fucking mouth. So a lot of the celebrities that, you know, I'm talking about up there celebrities. I'm talking
Wealthy
about up there.
They may not even be considered a celebrity.
I got one for you. I got one for you.
Status.
I got one for you. Raven Simone. She was on a talk show. I don't know if you remember. The U.S. went in on her in her ass when she was like, "I'm not from Africa. I'm not an African American. I'm just an American." You know, and the whole world was like, "Oh, she want to be white." No, I realized. I realized what it was. She didn't want to be white. She didn't want to be African American. She wanted to really just be who she was, because at the end of the day, we don't know we can only speculate who we really are. She just didn't want to be tied to somewhere where she knew she wasn't from, and maybe she had money to get information that we wasn't privy to and was trying to subliminally tell our stupid ass something, and we wanted to attack her for denouncing that she's from Africa.
It makes sense. It makes complete sense, and it's like, you have to make a decision at some point. Am I going to go with the narrative, or am I going to go ahead and understand the truth, or go with my narrative?
And she's not the only one she's not the only, black celebrity who's been subliminally trying to tell us that's not where we're from. If y'all look, like, all y'all have to do is, and this is on a surface research. You don't have to do deep research for this. You can go to YouTube, and there are celebrities who would subliminally and blatantly speak on, what they truly have in their blood, or at least saying that I'm not from Africa and my ancestors are not from Africa or whatever, and they would kind of leave it right there. But we also know they're not from freaking Europe or Ireland, anything like that.
Yeah.
So, that should be enough said to make the masses of African Americans, black people, think that shit. Maybe we're not. Maybe we should start questioning that shit. Like, really, maybe we should start questioning that shit. Like seriously, when have they had our best interests at heart to where they're going to put this in our history book so we can really learn our roots? Like,
it's like, we don't have to research that they did us wrong, or they don't have your best interests at heart. You know that. So it's like, don't go against your gut feeling. Don't go against what you know is right just to go with the flow of society. Stand on your own and do what you feel is right, And really, that goes into me wanting to ask you a question. So, a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
How do you feel the country would react, or would react if the rest of the world found out that black people, African Americans, Negroes, or whatever you identify as, are the aboriginals of what is now called the U.S.? How would the country react to that? How would the masses react to that?
Now, you threw a word out there that I'm sure some people don't know what it means, and I'm going to repeat pretty much what she said. Pretty much, how would the masses of the rest of the world or this country feel or react if they found out that African Americans, Negroes, or whoever we are called these days are the aboriginals of what is now called the United States of America?
Right. Now,
aboriginals.
Now, to break down the definition of an aboriginal before we get deeper into that, and we're going to go based off of the Webster's Dictionary in 1828 when it was originally defined.
This was Webster's year 8. So just like we're in year 2019, this was definitions that came out of the year 1828 dictionary, Webster's. We still use Webster's today. So, and all of these are going to be defined, that she's going to go over is going to be defined as nouns. We know what a noun is: person, place, or thing. And then these are going to be more or less persons. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Knock them out. Aboriginal.
As first, the original aboriginal.
Wait, stop right there.
Okay.
As first.
The original.
The original. As first. Numero uno. The original. Look up the definition of original if y'all don't know what that is. But as first, the original. Continue.
Yes. Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country, or first settlers in a country, as the Celts in Europe and Indians in America.
Okay, so Celts. I remember maybe in middle school, kind of learning little Celts were related,
I
to
vaguely
Europe.
remember that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it as well. But
Yeah.
this is perfect. So essentially, they're saying, Celts, Europeans, even the ones in the U.S., that they're aboriginals of Europe, of the European descent. They're aboriginals of Europe. Indians are aboriginals of America. And everybody's probably like, we already knew that.
Right.
We already knew that. And because all they did was change the term Indian to Native American. And said that they're natives of American. But everybody already knew that. However, the go ahead, I'll let you continue. So this same dictionary, we're now going to break down the term Indian in America as it refers to the previous definition.
And again, this was defined in 1828, the noun Indian, as a general name of any native of the Indies. As an East Indian or West Indian, it is particularly applied to any native of the American continent. So that breaks down the Indian and gives you like the separation of Indian and Native American, or gives you a more defined version.
Right, and also with saying native of Indies and all of that, we're not to be confused with the country known today as India or anything like that. Has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Because that can be super confusing sometimes to certain people.
That will be super confusing. Yeah, so just a side note,
shit like this
has nothing to do with it. We just y'all think about it. Territories were called different things so many times in different parts of the day. So whatever the Indies was and the East Indians and West Indies, that has nothing to do with the country India. This is all referring to what is now U.S. territory. So we got Aboriginal. We know that's the original of a particular place, and we got Indian, which Indians are the Aboriginals of America. So let's go ahead and see what American, the noun American, a person, what the definition of that was way back in 1828.
Yes, so as Webster defines American as a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, or as they stated, copper-colored races. Those copper-colored races were found here by the Europeans by now, but not applied to the Europeans born in America.
No. Let me. That's the important part. Just a little stumble. So, a Native American originally applied to Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to Europeans born in America, which means that Europeans born in America now are considered the Aboriginals. Europeans born in America now are considered the Aboriginals.
The native of America.
Of America. Now, the definition again of American: as a native of American, originally applied to the Aboriginals. Go back, or copper-colored races, and we're going to bring up a color chart that shows you every different color of copper, because copper comes in different colors,
different shades.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to bring up that. But listen. The noun American as a native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper color races.
Races is plural.
Copper color races. Listen, found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the Europeans born in America.
Think about that.
This is definitions from an 1828 dictionary of the Webster's Dictionary. And everybody knows.
We still go by Webster's Dictionary.
We still go by Webster's Dictionary. It's just an updated version. You're not going to find these modern day definitions of these in Webster's dictionary modern day, because they revised it, they updated, and then there was a point in time they were like, hey, we got to take this shit out, because if they read this shit, we're teaching them how to read now. If they read this shit and put two and two together, then obviously they're gonna learn that they're the originals and we are not.
which is ridiculous because in our opinion, it's deeming the fact that blacks, African Americans, whatever again you want to define yourself as, or any other term that's been attached to us, are not the Aboriginals. And we are the Aboriginals, of what's now being called the United States of America. So that's what we feel. We feel like we're the Aboriginals, or the true descendants or natives of the United States of America, and that true history has been hidden.
Right. So I just want y'all to keep this in mind. This was definitions from an 1828 dictionary. Everyone know the furthest you go back in history, the closer to the truth you get. The closer of an account of a truth account is taken out. So 1828, that's almost 100 years ago. 100. So right.
1828.
Oh shit, that's past 100. Shit.
Yeah, but like we're in 2019, it's about to be 2020. That's
almost 200. That's almost
ago.
Yeah, I'm tripping. So that's almost 200 years ago, which says a whole lot. Which means that since that point of time, I'm sure the dictionaries have been changed numerous times, and those definitions apply to Aboriginals, Indians, and Americans. Been changed and changed and changed. Gradually throughout time to benefit who? To benefit who? The now considered Aboriginals, which are Europeans who are born in America, and there's no mention of copper colored they're no longer Aboriginals.
They're no longer a factor in that definition whatsoever.
And as she mentioned, or copper colored races, and races is indeed plural. So we're going to think about that. Copper colored races. So there's not just. So now this is their words. There was no black people doing no dictionary. I guarantee you Webster wasn't black. There was no.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm sure
So
of it.
these were their words. So being plural. So either there's more than one copper color, or there's more than there's more than one copper colored race.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Point blank. Period. So
100%.
I want y'all, and when I say y'all, I mean Black people, African American, niggas, whatever the fuck. I want y'all to look at y'all skin, and then on this chart, look at the different shades of copper. And I want you to tell me if you identify your skin tone, your hue, with one of those shades of copper. And I promise you that will probably depict that your descendants are indeed Indians from America and not Africans from Africa.
They just put us in a box and said you all look alike. I mean, you guys have similar dark complexions. You guys are the same. You guys are one and the same.
That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. It's just a common sense tactic at the end of the day. And I'm sure there's probably people out there right now that are sitting back like, what they saying kind of makes sense, because I have been told that I have Indian in my family. But most of the time, that's just a little running joke, joke to blow off somebody saying that, I have good hair, or my family has good hair, so I have Indian in my family.
And it's like you brush them off like it's like, oh, you're not Indian, you African American.
Exactly.
That's what
you brush them off because of everything you learned in school points to the direction of Africa. There's no way you're an Indian. It's preposterous for you to be an Indian, because everything we've ever heard from yay high in school was that we're from Africa.
Without the school, the education system, where in the hell do you think we would think we're from? Like, would we think that we're from Africa? Would we have known just by the tales of Native Americans that we are truly Native Americans? What would have happened?
I mean, but I think that is beyond the most evil thing you can do, is to strip away. We're not even going to say strip away a person's roots, because they did that. We're not even talking about stripping away. We're talking about taking over their land. Not only just taking over their land, trying to make them believe that it wasn't even theirs to begin with.
Yeah.
Not even theirs to begin with. Like, what are y'all complaining for? Like, y'all from Africa. like seriously.
That is a good point.
Bro, and look, hold on, let me see something real quick.
Oh goodness, it's some good stuff, you guys. I really do hope that you guys are taking everything in, doing your own research, watching our other episodes, and hopefully some dots are connecting with you guys.
No, seriously. And if they're not, then you're going to be asleep for the rest of your life, and you can be African pride to the day you die.
And it's not to say that you can't be African pride if that's where you're from. If that's truly where your ancestors are from, or where you moved from, your parents moved from, maybe your third, fourth generation here in America. Rep it, rep who you are. But we are saying that as a whole, as a mass, we shouldn't have to rep being an African American
because we're pushed. We're pushed to believe that our ancestors came from Africa, and to even make that shit stick even more, they done attach that shit to our identity, like African American. Like, are you fucking serious?
Attached to your identity.
They're not considered European Americans. They're just considered Americans.
Yeah. And I saw somewhere where just like, are you American or African American? I'm just like, that's crazy.
That's like true. And the crazy thing is, they know that they are descendants from Europe, but yet they done stole the land. They done stole the land and deemed it theirs so much to where they just say, we're American, and y'all who are not from here, even though they know they're not from here too, y'all who are not from here are African American or Chinese American or whatever immigrant attachment, whatever, you're American now. Like bullshit. Look, at the end of the day, even based on their narrative, this land was never theirs to begin with. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you understood what the hell I just read, that land belonged to us, and we know we ain't getting the shit back. But at the end of the day, this land is our land, and this land ain't y'all land. Like for real, that little dumbass shit that we to make please,
every one of us
like the unity, like everybody unity. This is everyone's like for real. First of all, y'all don't. It's not like y'all stole the land to be like peacemakers and be like, no, we're gonna treat everybody fair with this land. Nope, y'all stole the land to dictate who can and who can't. Period, point blank.
And 90% of you guys can, and the other 10% is just us grabbing at the scraps.
For real. So this was our first little part to our first segment. Our second segment is going to essentially deal with. We're going to break down why was it important, and why it's still important for us to think that we're from Africa if we're not. And that's pretty much like, obviously coming from a thought process of a European, why is it important?
We have to put ourselves in their shoes. Yeah. What the hell was going through their minds? We're going to break that down.
Oh, we're going to break that all the way down. So we want y'all to listen to that one with an open mind, like really hear where we coming from, really connect the dots, and use your God-given common sense, because something just doesn't add up.
Something just ain't right, you guys. But
so until next time.
See you later.
Doses.